Hello guys, welcome back to this Arduino tutorial series. So in the all previous video, we created a lot of projects in the Arduino using the Proteus software. We write the different codes for different projects. We interface with different sensors and different actuators with our Arduino board. But there are few things to include here in this tutorial series. They are the basic programming tools or basic operations that are needed for any project. If you want to read the reading of a sensor and store it to any variable, for example say array, or if you want to store them permanently, you can store it in an SD card module. Or if you want to read the user input, or to analyze the user input different messages, you can use the string operations, etc. Keeping this thing in mind, I'm going to explain some array operations in Arduino. So this is an array. So today's video is based on the array operations. So array is basically a set of data collections, which stores the different elements in just a one array. For example, if you want to store the different elements or different values to one variable, you can use an array. The syntax for declaring an array is, first thing is the data type. Is this an integer type of variable, floating type of variable, etc. And second thing is array name. This arr, I'm indicating this arr as my array. This is the array name here, which is a variable. And in square brackets you have to mention the size of array. There are few methods to declare an array. You can ignore this size if you have elements here, and you can ignore the elements if you want. So second thing is you have to include the elements in the curly braces. And elements, and storing the elements is different for different type of elements. For example, if you are storing the character array, then you have to include them in the single quotes. If you are storing an integer, then you have to include them in double quotes. And if you are storing any floating type of variable or integer type of variable, then you have to skip that coded commas. So this is a simple definition for an array, syntax for declaring an array. The second thing is, for example, you have an array. I'm creating here an array with 10 elements. I'm having an array, array. Its total number of elements or size of this array is 10, and the elements are stored from in reverse order from 1 to 10. So 10, 9, 8 up to 1 in reverse order. These elements are arranged here. The first row here that you are seeing from 10 to 1 is the list of elements that are stored in this array variable. And the second thing that you are having here, or the second row, is the index of that particular element. Index means location of that element in an array. And these indices are always the whole numbers. Whole numbers, that means they are always starting from 0, and their end depends upon the number of element in an array. For example, in this array, particular array, which has the 10 element in it, and there are 10 different index numbers for different elements starting from 0 up to 9. I'm trying to say that these index are the different position values for different elements. For example, my first element is 10, and its index number or its position in this particular array is 0. So if you want to print this array, or if you want to get this element on the serial monitor or as your output, so you have to call like this array in the square bracket, and in the square brackets, when you are calling an array, you have to give the index number of that particular array. So for example, I'm now interested in printing or getting the first element of my array. So first element is having the index 0, so I have to give the index size 0. And remember that first, at the time of declaring of this variable, you are entering the size of element. But when you are calling this array, or when you are using that same array further in your program, the thing that you are entering in the size in place of size is actually the index number of that array. That index number is holding an element. So for example, I'm interested here to get my first element, to get the first element of this array, so I have to enter 0 as my index number, and this will give me the output as 10, because 10 is the first element of my array. If you want to call, If you want to get the last number of your array, you have to give the index number of 9. Just type index 9 and this will return the result 1. So let's open our Arduino IDE and write the code for this array. I hope you have understand the basic logic behind this array operations. So here is our empty Arduino workspace. So I have to declare an array first, which is an integer type of array. Um, I'm setting the size of this array. I'm entering just 5 elements here. So the length of my array will be 5 and equals to, I'm entering the elements in the reverse order. So my first element will be 5, then second will be 4, then 3, then 2, and last element will be 1. And you know that you have to terminate this command using these semicolons. Then let's declare one another variable to get different elements of my array. So int element. So in the void setup, first we have to start the serial communication to print and to receive the data on the to print the data on the serial monitor and to receive the data from the user. So for that you have to start the void setup. You have to write the void setup function, and inside void setup function you have to write serial.begin command to start the serial communication. So just write serial.begin command and set a baud rate. I'm setting it 900 9600 because this is the normal baud rate and people mostly use this baud rate. Second thing is the void loop. I'm keeping this while loop empty because the while loop will repeat itself again and again and will print the same result again and again on the serial monitor. I do not want, I'm not interested to print the same result again and again. I just want to print the thing only once. So I'm interested here to get the second element of my array, which is a array. So I have to write element equal to ARR. The index of my second element is 0 and 1. I'm interested in printing 4 on my serial monitor, and 4 is second element of this array and its index number is 0 and 1. So I have to write index 1 here. Now I just want to print this result on serial monitor, so you have to write serial dot print. I'm printing the value of this element here because the element that I have fetched from my array array variable is stored inside this element. So when I'm printing this element here, this will print the required result or the fourth element or the element that is placed on this index number. So let's just compile this code. I'm using the Proteus software for this circuit simulation or this explanation. Click on OK and start the simulation. Here you can see that 4 is printed on my virtual terminal, or you can see the serial monitor, and 4 is the fourth element of my second element of my array. Now let's change the index number from 0 to 4. So our so now we must get the fifth element of this array. The fifth element is first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. By changing this array from 1 to 4, we must get 1 on our serial monitor. So compile this code again and open Proteus software to verify the result. Here you can see we are getting 1 on our serial monitor, and this is the accurate result. If for example, if you do not know how many elements are there in this variable or in this array, and you want to know the size of the elements in this array, a total number of elements in this array, so you can do this. You can do a thing like declare a variable I'm naming here it as size. Like size is equal to size of, and enter the name of array inside this function, but array I'm having here is arr, so you do not need to enter the index number or the square brackets here. Just type arr here, and, and this will return the result in number of bytes. For example, integer type of data is having a size of 2 bytes. So this will print, or this will return 10, because our array element is having total of 5 element, and each element is having a size of 2 bytes. So 5 multiplied by 2 is equal to 10. So this size of element, this size of function will return the size of this array in bytes is 10. To get the number of element, you have to divide the output of this size function with the size of your data type. So for now I'm having integer type of data, so I have to divide the this result with size of int, size of int. So this equation, now this simple equation must return a value of 5 as our output. So let's write a command. Let's print this value of the size variable on our serial monitor and check for the result. So type serial dot print serial dot print ln size. Now, the output of this result, the result of this equation is stored in this variable, size variable, and I'm printing the value of size variable on serial monitor. Now to just type here ln, so that our result will be get printed in different lines. Now after changing these things, compile your code and open the Proteus software to check again for results. Here you can see that the first thing that we are getting on the serial monitor is 1, which is the fourth element that we have printed in the previous just a minute ago. And the second thing is the total number of element, which is the result of the equation that we use it to get the size or the number of elements in my array by calculating the size of the array and then dividing with the size of my data type. So let's create a loop here to print elements in separate lines. So let's use a for loop here. For that we need to define one another variable I, and for I equal to 0, which will indicate our first element, then I is less than uh, size, because if we write I is less than 5 and I plus. We are not including 5 here, because if we are including the 5 here, we are indirectly calling the sixth element, which is not a sixth element of our array, and which is not in this array. Our array is of 5 element, having a size of 5 elements, total 5 elements in it. Fifth element is not here. Just now serial dot print serial dot print ln arr, then now we have used the loop here, so I is changing its value again and again. For the first time its value is 0. When this loop repeats itself, then when this for loop repeats itself again, this value will change, will be get incremented to 1, and the second element will be get printed here, then third, then fourth, and then fifth. So for that we have to start enter here. We have to enter I as an index value here, as index value here. When I is 0, this will print 5 as our output. This will call the first element, and when the value of I is 1, this will return the second element.